Hey, greetings, Performance Reviews, where I give you the review from the technician's point of view, and today I want to talk about central vacuum retrofitting. A lot of people have the misconception that central vacuums can only be installed in new construction, and this is just wrong. Most modern houses that are built to code can be easily retrofitted in. So I'm going to take you with me to a retrofit job I did with a customer, and I'm going to walk you through the process step by step of what that looks like here in 2025, as the process definitely has gotten easier over the years as manufacturers have come out with new valves and other equipment to make this easier. Now, a common misconception is that you're going to have to cut open all the walls and do all sorts of nonsense. No, that's not how we're going to do it. You can simply drop the pipe into most studs, which means really the only hole that we're going to be cutting is a 4x6 hole for the valve and a couple of 2x2 holes through some beams and things, nothing structural. So fairly simple to install and fairly uninvasive. As you can see right here, I'm using a multi-tool, and then I'm using a vacuum as an exhaust to catch any drywall dust, since you don't want that all over the client's house. But a couple of quick zips with the multi-tool, and the hole opens right up. And again, this is really the biggest hole that we're going to make. And in this case, it's a 4,000 square foot house. We're going to be making 2 holes. Typically, one of these valves covers roughly 2,000 square feet, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. And just for a little bit more info on what's being installed here is this is a Chameleon valve, which is made by Vacuflo. And this is, in my opinion, the best central vacuum valve on the market here in 2025. I know that Idaho's just came out with a new valve. It is a big improvement. I still prefer the Chameleon. Other thing about the Chameleon valve is, let's say you only want the central vacuum in the most used parts of the house. Let's say you have another area where you're not going to use the vacuum as much. The Chameleon can actually come out of your wall and plug in a different outlet if needed. So we've had houses where we do the first and the second floor, and then the unfinished basement just has a port that you plug in occasionally when you need to vacuum that. We've also done that in the garage for people as well. So if you have an existing central vacuum, sometimes we just add one of these to a busy area of the house. Or the other thing that's extremely popular that we do is we add a Vroom Garage Kit. Now this isn't as sleek as this. The Vroom Garage Kit, the pipe actually mounts externally in most cases, but still looks pretty good, and it makes cleaning your cars so much easier. Here's again some more footage from me doing a customer's house with a Vroom Garage Kit. So once the hole is in the wall, you take your trim plate and you put it on over here with 4 screws. I always like to make sure it's nice and level, and then it's good to go. Now let me show you the back side of this. In this particular installation, on the other side of this wall is a utility room, which means there's a lot of room for me to work with this. It also allows me to show you really what's going on in this retrofit. A lot of times when I'm in an attic or something, it's going to be harder to show you this. So that's kind of nice. I also recently did one in a crawl space. That's, again, another area where we often put these things when we're doing a retrofit. Now, on the back side here, you can see the valve. It's just hanging out there. It's been screwed in place. Nothing special. You can see here's where the pipe connects, and then we wire up low voltage to that. So fairly simple to get that process going. Then once everything is wired up, I tend to plumb it. So we're going to go through the multiple stages of plumbing. Now this particular retrofit has 2 valves, one upstairs, one downstairs, and here is the hole for the one upstairs. And I'm running these raceways almost right next to each other, as you can see here. It's important when you're doing this that you glue up properly. You only glue male, you never glue a female, and that you have to use these sweep connectors. And this raceway really is limited to 360 degrees of rotation. So those are just some good rules of thumb. There's a couple other tricks of the trade, but we really won't discuss those too much in the video. As you can see, the pipe is starting to form its shape. Again, it's going to be kind of a circle in this particular installation. And you can see me putting some pipe through. These aren't actually support beams. It's like a fire stop, but anyways, putting the pipe through there. You'll also see me putting in what's called a stop coupler. This goes on the end when we're all done plumbing, and this keeps the hose from going into the rest of the system. It's a really important step, and I often see installers miss this. Now I am putting some finishing touches on the wiring, making sure everything's nice and tight. The thing I like to do with wiring is always use a proper wire staple gun, and this makes pulling wire and cable management a little bit nicer for when we wire this up to the unit. Now there is one more valve in the garage of this particular installation. I generally like to mount these things on studs, though it's not required. They do give you several mollies, and you can molly mount a central vacuum unit, but there's a stud conveniently located here, and I always like to make sure the mounting bracket is nice and level so the unit will sit level as well. Now it's time to put the unit on the wall, and it sits on here nice perfectly. We want to, of course, just kind of level it and set the pipe up. The unit doesn't actually get the pipe glued on the last joint. You need to make sure that the unit is removable from the wall. So you see me here just using the included hose clamps to tighten it up on the pipe right here. The other thing I mentioned is the muffler setup. I find this particular configuration that I do with the muffler to be the quietest of all the things I found. You can vent it to the outside, but you're limited to about 12 feet of run when you do that, and there was no way of doing that in this situation. Also, this is a very clean unit. These DB series of machines from Vacuflo have a disposable HEPA dust bag, so they're not going to produce any dust, which is really nice. And one of the benefits to the central vacuums are that they are moving all the air outside the living space, so you don't have to worry about it. It looks like it belongs here. It looks like it was built with the house, which is the intent. And there's the muffler setup. Now, if you're curious about what accessories we used and what that's like, I have other videos on that, both on the Chameleon valve specifically by itself. I have other unboxing videos specifically on the DB series of Vacuflo, and then I also have just what modern central vacuum attachments look like to give you an idea. In this particular case, we ended up using the Vesselwork EBK360 DC, which is my favorite kit. I think it's the best value, and it's really one of the more modern kits that's available. We also include like a hard floor tool, dusting brush, crevice tool as well. So that's very nice. And then again, a utility set in the garage. So I hope that's answered your questions in terms of retrofitting a central vacuum. If you are in the Colorado area, I'll have a link below to my company that does this. If you just want to comment in general, definitely check out the comment section below. If you have a central vacuum, I'd love to hear from you. If you're curious, again, drop a comment below. If you really love what we're doing, we have a Patreon where they get exclusive videos and sometimes early access. Thanks for watching. Have yourself a wonderful day.